Welcome to Social Media for Christian Schools, the podcast for Christian school leaders, parent volunteers, or the overwhelmed staff member who somehow ended up in charge of social media. If you're tired of guessing about what to post or wondering if it's even working, and you want to use social media to support enrollment and deepen connections, you're in the right place. I'm Rhiannon, a social media strategist for 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs and business owners, and part of the team that helped found a Christian school 20 years ago that is still thriving today. Now I'm combining that social media marketing expertise with my heart for Christian education to help schools like yours show up on social media with strategy and purpose to build visibility and attract mission-fit families. In each episode, you'll learn how to build a mission-driven social media presence that supports long-term growth by turning awareness into inquiries and connection into committed families. So grab your coffee and a notebook and let's get started. Welcome back to Social Media for Christian Schools. I'm Rhiannon, and today's episode is going to be a little bit of tough love, but I promise it's because I care. If your school is putting time into social media, but you feel like it's not getting any traction, it's not seeing the engagement, the new student inquiries, or the visibility that you would like, this is going to be an important episode for you. Because the truth is, most Christian schools do know that social media matters. That's why you're listening to this podcast. You're not ignoring it. You're posting. You're trying, but chances are you're making at least one of the mistakes I'll be covering today. So these are things that I see over and over again. I've researched at this point probably at least 100 Christian school social media accounts, maybe more. Most of them appear to be giving it a really strong effort, but a lot of them are making these mistakes. And that might be the reason why your content isn't doing what you want it to do, which is building trust and connection with your community. So in this episode, I'm going to walk through the most common mistakes that I've seen Christian schools make on social media, and more importantly, how you can fix them. And if you're making any of these mistakes, it's okay. The goal is just to make sure that moving forward, we're being intentional and strategic so that every post you make is actually serving your mission. But before I get into the list, I want to share something that really opened my eyes to how common this is, even in schools that are putting in great effort and they're doing amazing things at their school, right? When my agency took over social media management for the school that my kids go to, I saw firsthand how implementing these small changes and an intentional strategy can make a huge difference. Like I said in the previous episode, I adore our school. I have 2 adult children who attended our school from the time it opened to the time they graduated. I couldn't be any more proud. And honestly, I'm so grateful for the adults and the parents that they've become. They've both indicated that they would like to send my grandchildren to our school. My son, who's in the military right now, has even talked about how he'd like to come back and teach and coach there when he retires from the military. I think that speaks volumes about the kind of school it is. We had great things happening every single day. But when we started managing their social media, most of what was getting posted were event flyers, parent reminders, the occasional photo dump. Now, we do have a parent who takes stunning photos at events, so I suspect those photo dumps were pretty appreciated by all of the parents. I know I like them. But my point is, all of it was well-meaning, and it all made sense internally. But from the outside looking in, if you were a prospective parent scrolling through our feed, there was really no clear sense of who we were, what we valued, what makes us different, or why our school might be a good fit for your family. But that wasn't because they didn't care. It was just they were busy and they didn't know what they didn't know. Everyone was wearing 6 hats, and social media was being viewed as more of a communication tool instead of the marketing tool that it actually is. But as I've said before, we have a very forward-thinking school board, and when they approached me, they knew that we needed to invest in social media marketing. And as we always do when we get a new client, I went to work on researching competitors. And that's when I realized this is not a one school problem. This is a widespread issue. And more importantly, it's one that we can fix. It also became really clear to me that Christian schools are underserved in this area. There is not a lot of education out there around how Christian schools in particular should be using social media. So that's why I started this podcast. So if you see your school in anything I share today, please know you are not alone. You're not doing it wrong. You've just been doing it without a strategy that was designed for you. And that's what we're going to fix on this podcast. Let's talk about the 5 most common mistakes I see Christian schools making and what you can do instead. Mistake number 1 is primarily posting as a communication tool for your current families. This is the most common one. Most schools are primarily using social media like a bulletin board. They're posting information, posting photos, events, reminders, and all of that is helpful for current families. But that's not marketing. If most of your posts are designed to communicate with your current families, you're not giving potential families the information that they need to make an informed choice. You're not speaking to the families who need to hear your story and your values. The communication posts may keep parents informed, but they're not going to make someone say, wow, I want my child to go to school there. So here's how you fix that. You've got to start weaving in mission-driven content. Tell stories. Especially in 2025, storytelling content is what is performing really well. Talk about what your values are as a school. Highlight what your school is about. What makes your school different than any other school in your area? What is your culture like? How do you approach spiritual growth, academic growth, athletics, the arts? Over time, showcase some of your outcomes. Tell stories that highlight your teachers, your students, your alumni, your heart. That's what parents want to see. And when you're posting about an event that happened at your school, talk about how that event reinforces one of the specific values of your school. And if your school hasn't identified its core values, that's something your leadership team should be in prayer about, because this is very important. I would strongly recommend planning a leadership meeting to identify what those top 3 core values are. Your social media shouldn't just say what's happening, it should say why what's happening matters. Okay? Mistake number 2 is inconsistent posting, where you post 3 times one week, then skip a week, then maybe 2 the next. It happens, I get it, but inconsistent posting is problematic for a few reasons. The first is that social media platforms reward consistency. There are certain things that you can do to encourage the algorithm to show your post to more people. Posting consistently is probably one of the easiest things to implement. Inconsistent posting also weakens trust. And I'm going to say this in love. It makes you look a little unprofessional. You're not quite on the ball. It gives the impression that nothing's really happening, even when you've got incredible things going on at your school. And this is typically going to stand out or be more noticeable to younger parents, the ones who grew up using social media. It may not be a deal breaker, so I don't want to be overdramatic about it, but it also really doesn't make a stellar impression. And the third reason that inconsistent posting is an issue is that those skipped posts are missed opportunities. Having a thriving social media presence can strengthen your current school community. It can strengthen school pride. It can help re-engage alumni and help make you more visible in your actual surrounding communities. Take full advantage of that opportunity. Invest those talents wisely. And here's how to do that. As I mentioned before, we schedule our posts. There are several ways to do that. That's something that we're going to be covering in our membership. We generally schedule our posts for the same time and day each week, so you should be posting no less than 3 times per week. That's the minimum. We typically post 5 times per week, so what we did is we identified the best time of day to post for our audience, and we post at that same time, normally, every weekday. And it seems like a small thing, but small things can make a big difference. In the first year that my agency took over socials for a school, they had an almost 300% increase in impressions. So 300% more people saw their post that year. And it's really not a difficult thing to fix when you have the right tools and strategies. That's one of the reasons why we're starting the Christian School Social Media Hub, because with the right tools and support, you can very easily turn it around and make social media a strength for your school without burning out or overwhelming the person who runs socials for your school. Moving on, mistake number 3 is messaging that's too generic. And this one can be a little bit more complicated. Messaging is the way that your school communicates who it is, what it values, and who it's for. When messaging is vague, families can't tell what makes you special. There's nothing emotionally compelling or differentiating about it. You could be posting content that sounds good and sounds professional, but the general rule of thumb that I want you to think about is that if this post could be copied and pasted by another school and it would work, like if they could copy and paste that and post it on their social media, then it's not specific enough. Vague language does not connect emotionally, and it doesn't tell people what's special or different about your school. And this is where knowing your school's core values is very important. Honing in your messaging is one of the most impactful things you can do to attract potential new families. And I'm not going to lie to you, this fix is going to require a little bit more effort. It's going to require some prayer and reflection. But you need to get clear about who your ideal family is. What types of families and students do you want to attract to your school? Think about the values they care about, the problems they have, the questions they're asking, and what they most desire in a school community. And then talk directly to them. Literally, every time you create a post, pretend like you're creating that post just for that family. Be specific, be personal. That's what makes content resonate. And what will make social media a driver for enrollments in your school. Mistake number 4 is low quality visual content and branding. And this one might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. But again, I promise I'm telling you this because it matters. Whether we like it or not, parents do judge the quality of your school by the quality of what they see online. This is marketing and buyer psychology, and it's important for you to be aware of it. Parents who look up your social media will be less likely to move on to the next step in the enrollment process if you have low quality or inconsistent branding and visuals. And really, this goes for your website too. But since this is a podcast specifically about social media, that's what we're going to stay talking about. This goes for anywhere you're showing up online. Let me give you some stats to back this up. LinkedIn research shows that profiles with professional photos receive 14 times more views and 36 times more messages than those without. Another study showed that pro-quality photos increased viewer perception of how competent the subject was by 115%. And it isn't just the photos. 94% of first impressions about a brand are logo related. Professional branding can increase a company's perceived value by up to 14%. And one study found that companies with consistent branding can see up to a 33% increase in revenue. Here's why. Your brain processes visual data 60,000 times faster than text. First impressions happen within 50 milliseconds. What that means is that your visuals are one of the most important aspects when it comes to attracting new families online. Social media in particular, great visuals stop the scroll, and they leave a good first impression. Now, I'm not saying that the entire success of your school is going to rest on good branding and visuals, and good branding isn't going to save a school that has some other serious issues. There's also, obviously, a lot more that parents take into account when enrolling. Many parents have a strong personal conviction about where their child is educated because I have those same convictions. I get it. I know. So I do get it that some of those stats might not quite hold the same weight with marketing your Christian school on social media. But that being said, you are listening to this podcast to learn how to improve your school's social media presence, most likely so that you can attract new families. And improving the quality of your visuals will help you do that. That does not mean that you have to hire a professional photographer or videographer. And branding can be pricey, so that may not be in your budget. If you listen to episode 1, you know that I worked in a Christian school that had budget constraints. But there are low-cost things that you can do. Learn how to take better photos and videos with your iPhone. Make sure that the visuals that you post on social media are always on brand and that you're always using brand colors and fonts. Create brand guidelines and stick to them. And you can do this in Canva. And that's something we're going to teach in the hub. So if you don't know how to do it, that'll be a good place for you to learn. But you want your visuals to actually reflect the beauty and energy of your school. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just needs to feel a little bit polished and intentional because visuals are the first impression and impressions stick. Now for the final mistake. Mistake number 5, posting content that doesn't fit the platform. And this is more of a technical one, but it actually is a big deal. Often see things like horizontal videos being posted as reels, images that get cut off because they're the wrong size, or text that is getting cut off or it's hard to read on mobile, even just content that doesn't quite match the vibe of the platform that it's on. So for instance, I know a lot of professional videographers still film horizontally. And yes, the footage is beautiful. Like it really is. It's a great investment. But if it's formatted horizontally, it's not formatted for social media platforms anymore. We run into this with some of our luxury clients who invest in high-end video and photography. And most of it's horizontal unless they ask for vertical. And we've developed some creative workarounds, which again is something that I'll be teaching. So you can still use it. It's not wasted. Just make sure you edit it to the right dimensions so that it gets the attention it deserves. And this is a really easy fix. Take a few minutes, scroll the platform as a user. See what kind of content feels natural there. Every platform has a culture all on its own. You really want your content to feel like it was made for that platform and that it belongs there. One of the easiest things to fix is just to use the correct dimensions for your images and photos. If you're posting a reel, make sure the text on screen isn't cut off. All right, so here's your action step for this week. Pull up your school's Instagram or Facebook feed. Scroll through the last 9 posts, just like a prospective parent would. I want you to do a quick audit of your recent posts, and this time we're going to be looking at format. Look at your Instagram grid. Are you still posting everything in square format? If so, it's time to stop. Instagram now allows for 3x4 posts, and those are going to take up more vertical real estate. They're going to perform better on the platform. So if you're manually posting, we do recommend switching to 3x4. If you're using a scheduler like we do, you may need to stick with 4x5 dimensions, but that's also great. Either one of these is a major improvement over the old square format. Now check your reels. Are your videos vertical? And what I mean by that is every video gets posted as a reel, which are vertical. So when you post a horizontal video, what it looks like is this horizontal video with a big black square on the top and bottom. That looks out of place. So are all of your videos vertical? If they aren't, that's a change you want to make starting now. From here on out, I want you to film vertically. Format your videos as reels because whether you intend to or not, that's how they're going to be viewed. And while you're at it, check out your text on your reels and on your posts. Is anything being cut off? If so, that's a very easy fix moving forward. The mistakes we covered in this episode are really common, but they're also really fixable. And even correcting just 1 or 2 of them can really change how your school is showing up on your socials. Your posts don't need to be perfect, but they do need to be intentional. And the more intentional you are, the more your social media starts to do the work it was meant to do, building trust, deepening connections, and attracting the right families. So let me just wrap up this episode with this. Your school's story matters. And social media, when used with intention, can be one of the most powerful ways to share that story with the families who need to hear it. But the small details do matter. The format, the visuals, the messaging, they all impact how your school is perceived and whether or not your prospective families feel drawn to learn more. You don't need a marketing degree, trust me. You just need a strategy. And you need to have the willingness to make small, smart changes that are going to add up over time. You don't have to do it overnight. You can baby step it. That's fine. So if this episode helped you see a few things differently, would you take 30 seconds to just follow the show, maybe even share it with another Christian school leader or staff member? It helps more than you know. And remember, I'm here to help you. You can always feel free to reach out through email. We do have a brand new free support group on Facebook, so I'd like to invite you to join that, ask any questions you may have. The name of that group is Social Media for Christian Schools. I'll link it in the show notes, so pop in and say hi. And I'd like to thank you for being here. I'm so grateful for your time, and I'll see you in the next episode.